along the windswept coast of West Africa, where the Atlantic Ocean crashes endlessly against ancient stone walls, stands a doorway that changed the fate of millions. Forever IT is known as the Door of No Return, located within the infamous Slave, castles of Cape Coast and Elmina in present-day Ghana. This doorway was not just an exit, it was the final threshold between homeland and a lifetime of bondage, between identity and between freedom and the unknown horrors of slavery. In the 15th century, European traders first arrived along the Gold Coast drawn by gold, ivory and trade. The Portuguese built Elmina castle in 1408. Later came the Dutch, the British, Danes and other European powers. But over time, trade in human beings became more profitable than gold. Massive stone castles rose along the shoreline, not as fortresses of protection, but as prisons. Beneath their whitewashed walls lay dark, airless dungeons built to hold hundreds of enslaved Africans at once. Men were separated from women. Children torn from parents, families erased in an instant. The air inside was thick with sweat, blood and despair. There was little light, little food and almost no air. Captives could remain locked inside for weeks, sometimes months, waiting for ships to arrive. Many never made it out alive. When the slave ships finally appeared on the horizon, terror swept through understanding. Hearts. Captives were brought up from the dungeons, often blinded by sunlight after months in darkness. Chains clanked around their ankles and wrists. European traders and soldiers forced them to march through narrow stone corridors designed to break the spirit before the journey even began. At the end of that passage stood a small opening, a wooden door facing the vast Atlantic Ocean. This was the final point of departure from Africa. Once crossed, there was no return. But before many captives stepped through that doorway, something powerful happened. They prayed. Africans from different ethnic groups, Akan, Yoruba, Eva, Igbo, Mand, and many others called upon their Ancestral Saltpunts. Some whispered, some sang softly through tears. They believed that even if their bodies were taken, their spirits remained tied to the land of their birth. Many believed their souls would travel back home after death. Others took handfuls of soil, hiding it in their mouths or hair, carrying Africa with them across the ocean. Spiritual leaders among the captives performed final rites, asking the ancestors for protection, strength, and someday freedom, even in chains. Faith remained unbroken. Beyond the door of no return lay the slave. Ships, wooden vessels, packed far beyond capacity. Enslaved Africans were forced into the hulls, stacked side by side, shackled, unable to move the voyage across the Atlantic known. As the Middle Passage lasted weeks, months. Disease spread rapidly. Starvation was common. Violence was constant. Many chose death over bondage, jumping into the ocean when possible. Historians estimate that millions perished during the crossing alone. Sharks often followed the ships, a grim testament to the scale of suffering. Yet even aboard these ships, resistance lived on. Captives revolted. They refused food they communicated through song and coded language. The spirit of freedom refused to die, though stripped of names, languages, and homelands. Africans carried their culture within them. Drumming rhythms survived in the Americas. Spiritual systems transformed but endured. Storytelling, dance, and ancestral reverence lived on. From Brazil to Haiti, from the Caribbean to the United States, African traditions reshaped the world that what slave traders tried to erase became global cultural foundations. At the doorway meant physical departure, but never spiritual disappearance. For centuries, the door of no return stood as a symbol of unimaginable loss, a wound in history, half-rubbed from stone but over time. Its meaning began to evolve. Descendants of enslaved Africans started returning to Ghana, walking the path their ancestors were forced to take. Ghana renamed parts of the site, calling it instead the Door of Return, a reversal of history. A spiritual homecoming. Visitors now pass through the doorway in remembrance, not in chains, but in honor. The story of the door is not only about captivity, it is also about resistance, from ship revolts to plantation uprisings to maroon communities formed by escaped enslaved Africans. The fight for freedom never stopped. Leaders like Toussaint Louverture in Haiti, Natituana, Harriet Tubman, and countless unnamed heroes carried the same ancestral fire that once prayed inside those dungeons. Their struggles led to abolition movements across the world. Step by step, chain by chain, slavery was challenged, then dismantled. Today, Cape Coast and Elmina castles stand as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Visitors walk the same corridors, touch the same walls, and stand before the same door of no return. Ceremonies are held to honor the ancestors. Libation is poured. Names are remembered. Silence is observed. For many in the African diaspora, visiting the door is deeply spiritual, a reconnection across centuries of separation. The door of no return is more than architecture. It is memory, it is pain, it is survival. Carrying freedom where chains once ruled.